Alright guys, in today's video we have the Moto G Power 2025 edition versus the Moto G 2025. Stay tuned. Alright everyone, hopefully you guys are having a good day. Hopefully everyone is safe out there. In today's video we're going to be comparing the $300 Moto G Power 2025 edition to the Moto G 2025, and there's actually a $100 difference between these phones, as you guys know. So I'm very curious to see what you get with the Moto G Power 2025 edition for that extra $100. So first and foremost, we're going to start off with the displays on these devices. The Moto G Power right here has a 6.8 inch display, and the Moto G has a 6.7 inch display. Now in the Moto G Power 2025, we actually have a 385 ppi. This is also going to be full HD, so that's what we have on there. Going over to the Moto G, we actually have 720p, so we only have HD. No full HD, kind of sucks even for a $200 phone. I mean, you see the Galaxy A16 out there with a full HD AMOLED display. And instead of 385 ppi in the Moto G, we actually only have 262. As far as the technology used on these displays, they are both going to be IPS LCD, and both are going to be 120 Hz for the refresh rates. As far as the screen to body ratio on these phones, the screen to body ratio is better on the Moto G Power at 87%, and on the Moto G we have an 85% screen to body ratio. As far as the technology we see on the glass right here, Moto G Power will have Gorilla Glass 5 and Moto G will have Gorilla Glass 3. So I feel like the biggest differences and takeaways right here is the Moto G Power is a little bit more pixel dense, obviously a full HD display instead of HD, and it has a better screen to body ratio and protection with Gorilla Glass 5. Now getting into the hardware of these devices, this is something that is very surprising considering that the Moto G Power is $100 more, but both these devices have the same processor. So both are going to have the MediaTek Dimensity 6300 processor. A lot of people were mad about this, including myself. I did not think the Moto G Power had to go with this processor. I was hoping they were going to have a much more powerful processor than the Moto G, but you can't always get what you want, right? As far as the RAM goes, however, we do have 8 GB of RAM inside this device instead of the 4 you get inside of the Moto G. And for the base model of the Moto G, there are 64 GB models out there with the internal storage, and for the Moto G Power, it's going to be 128 GB out of the box. However, for the Moto G, I have not seen the 64 GB variant yet. So if you go on Amazon right now, like I did, and I purchased this phone, this device for $199 unlocked actually does have 128 GB of internal storage. So I'm just going to say they both have 128 GB of internal storage. We can also expand our storage via microSD card, and one great thing about these devices is we have Android 15 out of the box, and I believe we have the same update policy as well, which is 2 major operating system updates and 3 years of security patches. So those are going to be bi-monthly for these devices. Not really too much of a change right here. I feel like the biggest difference you're going to see right here is we get 8 GB of RAM instead of 4 that we got on the Moto G, and that's of course going to make this phone a little bit more of a snappier experience, especially when coming to having a ton of different windows open in the background and playing video games, of course. Now getting into the battery on these devices, both devices have a 5,000 mAh battery. Both these devices also have fast charging. They're going to be capable of a 30-watt wired fast charge, even though we do not have a charger inside the box. Kind of sucks. However, the Moto G Power, the more expensive phone, is going to offer that Qi wireless charging up to 15 watts. So some really good stuff right there for people that really like to wirelessly charge their phones. Now, as far as the battery test right here, Phone Arena does have a battery test between both these phones, and it's actually pretty surprising. So going over to the Moto G Power right here, we have a 6-hour and 11-minute battery life. We have 14 hours on browsing for a video, 9 hours, and gaming 8 hours and 43 minutes. Going over to the Moto G, we actually have an 8-hour and 15-minute battery life. Browsing is going to be at 22 hours, 3 minutes. Video is going to be at 10 hours, 3 minutes. And gaming is going to be at 11 hours, 42 minutes. So the battery life obviously is going to be a lot longer on the Moto G. And that's probably considering that we only have a 720p display It's a smaller display as well, and we have a worse PPI. So that's probably the culprit for the worst battery life on the Moto G Power. Now getting into the cameras on these devices for the Moto G Power 2025, we have a 50 megapixel main camera. And of course, our secondary camera is going to be an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera. So great to see that ultra wide mode on there. Going over to the Moto G, we have a dual camera on the rear, same as the Moto G Power. For our main camera, it's going to be 50 megapixels, and our secondary camera, we're only going to have that 2 megapixel macro mode. So kind of sucks that we don't have that ultra wide on the Moto G. However, that is a nicety that you're going to get with this phone. So that's what the extra $100 you're going to spend gets you. And of course, both these devices, as far as their video recording on the rear, go up to 1080p 30 frames per second. And as far as our front-facing cameras, both devices are going to have a 16 megapixel front-facing shooter capable of video recording at 1920 by 1080p. So full HD recording on both of these front-facing cameras. And as far as like the videos go and the pictures go on both these devices, obviously the biggest difference you're going to see is that we are going to be able to use ultra wide mode on the Moto G Power right here. So if you guys are taking photos in big groups constantly, or you take photos of big buildings or things that you want to kind of expand the view of, the Moto G Power's ultra wide camera is going to be a better experience for you than the regular Moto G if you guys want that ultra wide mode. But for the most part, like the quality of the photos and stuff like that is essentially going to be the same. I haven't seen too much of a difference between both these devices' cameras, and I'll be doing a video on that very, very soon. As far as the materials used on these devices, both of these devices are going to have that vegan leather material right here, as you guys can see. Very, very comfortable to hold in your hand. Also, both these devices look super classy. They look honestly very, very different from what you get from other devices around this price tag. So I really do like the form factor and the look of these devices. The other thing that you're going to get on the Moto G Power compared to the Moto G is that we're actually going to have an IP69 water and dust resistance on this device. So a very, very cool key feature on here that I did not expect to get on this device. So awesome stuff right there. On this device, we're just going to have a water repellent design. It's not going to have any IP certifications. That's going to be the biggest difference as far as like the form factor and stuff. Both devices also do have a power button that doubles as a fingerprint sensor. And as you guys can see at the bottom of the phones right here, they both have a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. So great to see that on both these devices. And those are the differences between the Moto G Power 2025 edition and the regular Moto G 2025. Let me know in the comment section down below what phone you would rather have, guys. I want to take a poll down there. Let me know. I'm really curious, and tell me why you would choose the specific phone that you're going to choose. But if you guys enjoyed this video, definitely leave a like down below, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification bell to be notified every time I upload a new video. This has been Safon from TechRight. Peace out, Tech Gang.